All right, you guys. Well, good morning. It's 9 o'clock exactly. And so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm sure people will be joining us a little bit after 9. But thank you, everybody who got on the phone before 9 o'clock so that we could definitely, start the call on time. And so for those of you who are on the call for the very first time, welcome. My name is Karla, and I'm actually calling you from my new home. I just moved over the weekend, so it's been quite the beginning of 2014 for sure. And so I'm super excited to be on the call with you guys. We're going to do something a little bit different today. As for those of you who maybe have not been on the calls with us for a long time, we've actually been doing these calls back since September. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a foundation of what these calls have been about so that you understand the conversation today. And today we're going to be talking about the psychology, the mental conversation that we all have about money. And the reason why I'm going to share this with you guys today is because over the weekend I had an opportunity to, as you maybe you don't know, but I am actually the director of a team development at USC Latina Leadership Academy, where we're training and developing 24 corporate executive Latinas on how to bring out their authentic leadership. And then each of those, the 24 women are paired up in 4 groups, and each group has a leader. And I am overseeing those leaders that are seeing the 24 women. So needless to say, it's been quite an experience. But anyhow, every month we get together, and this last Saturday was the day that we got together. And we had the opportunity to have a guest speaker. His name is Javier Gutierrez. He is the Chief Investment Officer for the Morello Group, the richest Latino family in the United States of America. They're actually one of the very few Latino billionaires. They came from Cuba and started this. His name is Alex. Alex started this restaurant at 16 years old. And from there, it went to real estate, and now they own channels. I'm not too sure if it's going to go through, but I know that they were in the conversation of being the first Latino to ever own a football or basketball team, one of those two. Anyhow, why am I telling you all this? Because this weekend I had an opportunity. He came to speak to these women. And as he was talking, I really was thinking about all of you guys, all of us, okay? And so when I say you guys, I'm including myself in this, okay? All of us. And really about the conversation that we have, and if you're Latino, the conversation that the Latinos have with money. And the reason why he was saying that was because he was speaking to Latinas. However, this conversation really applies to everybody, okay? So if you hear me say Latinos here and there, it's because I'm reading notes from the meeting. But anyhow, so for those of you who have not joined us since the beginning of the call, the foundation of these calls have been all about how do you bring out that authentic leader within you. And the foundation has been all about self-awareness and having an opportunity to really key in on what is it that, we're saying to ourselves, from our thoughts to, our feelings, to our actions, our vocabulary, how to have more, I don't want to say control, but I'll just use that word for now, more control over what we say, what we think. And it really comes down to the foundation of being self-aware. And if you're taking notes, if you're not, just make a mental note. And that is the foundation of consciousness. See, so many of us are walking around the earth and this planet so unconscious, right? So many things that we do are coming from a place of unconsciousness. From if we're eating mindless eating where we're just constantly stuffing our face. I know I've experienced that, and then all of a sudden you're like, I wasn't even hungry, right? You're taking action unconsciously with food. Or maybe if you're walking around and you're walking around maybe a meeting and you don't have a smile on your face and you're just kind of in your own world, you're not conscious on how you land with other people. How do people perceive you? So since September, that has been the foundation of these calls. We have been given homework, something as simple as making your bed every day, those rituals, those morning habits every single day, doing little things every day that will then have a building block on you becoming a better leader. And you might be wondering, what the heck does a bed have anything to do with your leadership? And that's everything. Because one of the things that we have been talking about since September is that how you do one thing, you do everything. So if you start noticing, for example, I will give you my personal red flags. If my car is a mess, my room's a mess, if my house is a mess, my diet's a mess, my exercise is a mess, my life is a mess, my business is a mess, everything's a mess, okay? And the moment I start noticing that I leave the dishes, that I'm indifferent about making my bed, that I'm indifferent about how my car looks, those are red flags for me. I'm like, uh-oh, here I go, and I can stop it. See, that's having conscious about your action. That's having a conscious level, having consciousness towards what it is that you're doing. So I'm bringing all this up because it is super important that I'm going to remind you every week that it is super, super important to have a mental, conscious awareness of what we think, what we're saying to ourselves. And in order to live life with integrity, it all starts within. See, you can have integrity with everybody outside, but it also means having integrity within. So why I'm bringing this up is because when Javier came in to talk to us about money, we all thought that he was going to sorry, guys, I'm going to walk into this room. It might be a little noisy, but I'm going to try to walk through this room really fast. I'm coming out of the gym. So he was talking about what is the importance of, we thought he was going to come in and talk about the importance of money and how do you invest it and where do you invest it. That's what we thought he was going to talk about, right? Especially since he's the chief investment officer to the wealthiest Latinos in America. However, he didn't say anything about that. He started talking to us about the mental psychology, the relationship we have with money. And if you think about this, okay, you might be thinking like, the relationship I have with money, what are you talking about, Karla? Right? So I'm going to share with you guys what we learned this weekend. So if you have something to write with, you might want to pull it out. So here's the thing. Why this is so important, and I'm going to tie this back to Herbalife because I know everybody here on the phone is an Herbalife distributor, and so I'm going to bring it back to what he said related to us. And that is, he asked us, how many of you ladies, okay, 24 of us in the room, how many of you ladies feel comfortable with wealth? How many, so I'm asking you, okay, how many of you guys, let me turn the questions back to you guys. How many of you guys feel comfortable with the word wealth? How many of you feel comfortable in owning riches, having wealth and abundance of money? I want you to really think about that. And I'm pretty sure that the initial response would be like, yeah, hello, I will feel super good about this, right? But if you think about this a little deeper, okay, of course everybody wants to be like a multimillionaire. If they if you come from an unconscious point of view, like you're like, yeah, you won the lotto, oh my God, you'd be so happy. I don't think anybody would start crying in the moment, right? And that's that moment, maybe later, but in the moment they won't cry if they win the lotto, right? But now I'm going to ask you another question, and that is, I invite you to start thinking about, okay, what is your relationship with money? Meaning that, how would you feel? How comfortable do you feel with having wealth? How comfortable would you feel owning having a lot of wealth, a lot of riches? So I want you to think about that. Now, I'm going to take this further, and that is, if you had a lot of money, what emotions would you be feeling? The moment, let's just say tomorrow, you're a Chairman's Club member, boom, you're making $1 million a year, what is that, $80,000 plus a month. Let's just say you're making $100,000 a month, right? That's over $3,000 a day. What your family, quote unquote, most Americans, right, what they make on average a month, you're making on a daily basis. Now, I want you to start to think about and start being aware and conscious of how you feel about that. And would you be okay with that? How would you feel? Would you have, now here's my other question, would you have any sense of guilt or like this little sense of guilt of having so much? And when Javier asked that, a couple of us, and I include myself in this, raised our hands. Because I hate to admit this, but in a way, it's almost like the first thing that came to my mind was, heck, yeah. And I thought about all the things I could do, all the places I could travel, all the people that I could help, right? But then when he asked, would any of you guys feel a little sense of guilt of having so much in comparison to the rest of your family? Would you feel a sense of shame of having so much on a daily basis when it takes your family a whole, what very few people make in a year, you make in a month? And I invite you here on the phone to start thinking about that. The reason being is because if you have internal conflicts, like let's say, you're working really hard and you're wanting to get team, you're wanting to get to meal team, you're working to get to press team, you're working to get to chairman's club member, but something inside of you, and so like you externally believe that you want all this wealth. You externally believe that you want all this abundance. But if something inside of you, even for a moment, right, like if something inside of you is not in alignment with that, meaning that you feel a sense of a little guilt, a little shame, okay, you will sabotage any success you attain. The reason being is because even though it's something that you psychologically, mentally, consciously maybe want, inside your spirit, your heart, your essence is in conflict with that. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because many of us are not aware of this. See, I wasn't aware this Saturday when he was saying this. I wasn't necessarily aware that I had this internal conflict. I always wondered why, when I start growing in my business or having more money or having more success, for a moment, rather than like striving for more, it's almost as if I take a small step backward, right? And I'm not ashamed to say that because I'm human. But here's the thing. It's beautiful if you can become aware of that and stop and think, why am I doing that? Why am I having those thoughts? Why am I taking those actions? Or why am I stopping the actions that I've been taking that have gotten me where I've got, where it has me? Or why is it that if I have all this money, rather than thinking like, okay, how can I say this? How can I invest this? Rather than thinking that, you want to like get rid of it, like give it away almost. I will confess, when I was 23 years old, I hit Millionaires Team member, and I was making about, a good amount of money. And, every time we went out to eat with my friends, with my family, with anybody, I always wanted to pick up the tab, because it was almost as if it was like, well, they ate too, right? And normally, like, had I not been making that kind of money, I would have had no problem splitting the tab. But all of a sudden, because I'm the one that's making the most of the money in the table, it was like, almost like an unspoken understanding that I, in a way, had to pick it up. Now, whether they thought that or not is irrelevant. The problem is that's what I believed. Unconsciously, I had this thing like, oh, well, I'm the one that has more money, and I should pick up this tab. That's the only right thing. The problem with that is that if I continued, which I did, if you continue that kind of behavior, you're literally telling the universe, you're telling your mind, your spirit, your consciousness, that you're not okay with bringing in this kind of abundance. Now, if you switch that, okay, or even let me take that even further, and I'll speak about Latinos because I only know my culture because I'm Latina. I don't know any other culture, right? But I'll speak from the Latin perspective, and that is a lot of us, okay, and I'm sure many of you guys on the phone probably the same way, whether you're Latin or not, have this belief that if God has given us a lot and we have given this abundance, it's almost like an unspoken understanding that we must take care of the rest of the family, meaning we have to help them. We have to, like, look after them. Now, here's a situation with that, okay? When you do that, again, it's coming. Now, if you're doing it from a place of, let me help because, man, I can get some more, and let me help because it's like I want to and I love you, and, like there's no, like you're really doing it from a conscious giving perspective, right? It's very different than if most of us give because it's almost a way of rationalizing and making okay that God has given us so much abundance. Now, if that's happening in the background, the message you're telling the universe is, I'm not okay with all of this. I feel a little shame. I feel a little embarrassed that I have so much and my family and friends don't. So I got to give it away. Now, there's a difference between giving it away because like charity and like the more you give, the more you receive type of thing. But here, most of the time, the feelings and the mental conversation are not from a place of giving from abundance. It's a place of giving from a little bit of shame and embarrassment. Now, if this is not making any sense, I invite you this week to pay attention, okay? This is part of your homework. I'm going to open the lines in a little bit because I want to hear about last week, how everything went. But here's one of your assignments, and that is during this week, I'm going to invite you to start being aware of your conversation with money. How do you relate to things? Like when you see a brand new, Lamborghini, right? do you look at it and go, damn, that's an expensive car, okay? Or do you look at it like, yeah, I'm going to want to get that, right? And do you look at that thinking, when I'm going to get that, and are you going to feel good about it, or are you going to feel a little embarrassed? You know, one of my friends, this guy that I met in Las Vegas at the Next Level Experience with Raul Villasis, he lives in Utah, and he's a very young man, and it turns out that he makes, like, in a month what most of his family make in a year. So anyhow, he bought himself a 6 Series BMW, and he felt that he had to get a modest car so that when he goes to visit his mom, he doesn't show up in his convertible 600 BMW. He shows up in whatever modest car he got, okay? And one day, he's like, man, one day I was driving my 6 Series, and Mom called me, and so I started heading over to her house. I was like, oh, dang, I'm driving the wrong car to Mom. And she opened the door, and she just looked at him, right? And because he makes so much money that it's almost like an unspoken, almost like he feels a little bit bad because the rest of his family's not doing well, right? And so I invite you to start noticing those conversations, noticing how you relate to money. How do you relate to yourself? What's the conversation you have when you see things? And in addition to that, not only am I going to invite you to be aware and be conscious of that conversation that you have inside of you, but also here's an assignment for those of you who really want to take this and really want to transform your relationship with money, and that is I'm going to invite you to write a letter to money, to write a letter to money as if it were a person. So you're going to start, Dear Money, and you're going to start writing to money. Okay, I invite you to not think, but just write. Because the moment you get in your head, you're going to start almost like controlling and manipulating what you're putting down on paper. So I'm going to invite you to just write and write and write and write. Let your essence flow out. Let yourself come through this piece of paper. Just write and write and write. For the first maybe 5 minutes, it's all going to be superficial. It's all going to be what you hope your conversation is with money. But eventually, if you keep writing, the truth will come out. And I invite you to do that. And then when you're done with that, stop and read it. Go back and read it, okay? And if any of you guys want to share next week what you saw with that, it would be very exciting. I'll share with you briefly before I open the lines here. And you guys, when I open the lines, please don't get off the phone. When you hear other people's shares, we're going to end at 9:30 sharp, but when you hear other people's shares, through their conversation, through their sharing, so many things, if you can get in the conversation, so much will open up for you. So I really invite you to stay to the call. Because I could tell when you guys hang up, because I actually get a report at the end of the call. But anyhow, so I actually did this assignment. I started writing. And one of the things that I realized is that not only do I feel, I have a very good abundance personality. Like, I feel that I could obtain anything that I set my mind to. I don't have a doubt that if I really wanted to, I could be a millionaire. I don't have doubt that if I really wanted to work really hard, I can get to chairman. Like that limiting belief no longer exists in me that I can't. See, I have a very good relationship with myself that I can do anything that I really set my mind to. And I genuinely really do believe that. However, when I started writing towards money, one of the things that I realized is that I did not have the best relationship. And I'm speaking past tense because I want to transform it. I did not have the best relationship with money. It was almost as if my relationship was a little bit from a place of shame, a little bit of place of embarrassment, and a little place of pain. Almost as if money equals dissatisfaction and loneliness. And that was a big aha for me. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm comfortable with where I'm at. Why am I not going for more? It's because internally, subconsciously, inside of me, unaware of my knowledge, there was this thing that says, if I have a lot of money, I will be alone. If I have a lot of money, it was almost like a thing of almost like shame, almost like, why? How come everything, why does everything come so easy to me? In a little place of like a little embarrassment almost. Now, I know for a lot of you might be thinking that sounds really silly, right? And it does sound silly, and it makes no sense. But a lot of the things that we have inside of us in the back of our mind subconsciously don't make any sense. But if you start looking at your actions, why do you take one step forward and 20,000 steps back? There's an internal conflict that's going on inside of you that if you start becoming aware of it, things might start shifting for you, and then things will drastically alter. So I invite you to do that. Number one, conscious of your conversation, and number two, write this letter towards money. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to open the lines. If you're in a very noisy place, please press star 6 when I open them. And I want to hear from you guys to hear about how is your core 4 going. Okay, how is the core 4, the concepts of your body, your soul, your relationships, and your business, how is that going for you? What aha moments have you gotten, or what have you realized about yourself? And last week we also talked about the 5 levels of leadership. I would love to hear if any of you guys had anything that you noticed as far as how you relate to leadership and what level of leadership you are with the people around you. Go ahead, open up. Okay, does anybody want to share? Or I should say, who would like to share?
I would. This is Gabi.
Hey, Gabi.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, one of the things that I liked about the about what's it called for quadrants, Karla? What is it?
Core 4. Tell them what you renamed it, Gabi. Tell them what you renamed it.
Sorry, I renamed it. I named it the balance of my life. Okay, so anyway, so what I did is I noticed like the first week, my points, and I sat down on Sundays like, what can I do to improve my points? So I actually I can prepare my week. So one of the things was the Bible. So I actually took out the Bible and I said, okay, I'm going to read it for 15 minutes every day, and it actually sat on the table for the whole week, and I never picked it up, and I saw it every day, and it was like an aha moment for me, because even though I prepared, I really wasn't committed to doing it. It was just this would balance my life, but I'm not really committed to doing it. So I actually started this morning, reading the Bible. So that was pretty cool for me.
Awesome. I'll give you a little tip. If you download, because I too sometimes I'm like, okay, but if you download the application of Gateway on your phone, it actually reads the Bible for you. I mean, it's better for you to read it yourself, but let's say I know for one day I was like, oh my God, I didn't do anything spiritual today, so I uploaded, I opened the Gateway application, and then I went to the Gospels. I think it was Matthew that day, and I listened to it for 15 minutes and went to bed. So it was also a really great thing for me to listen right before I went to sleep and quiet my mind and connect to God. So awesome, Gabi. Anybody else want to share? Who else would like to share about your week, whether it's the core 4 or the leadership or anything that has opened up for you after these calls, since you've been participating in these calls? Okay. Anybody want to share?
I could share. This is Mario.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Mario.
No problem. It's been a while since I've been able to plug in on the calls. Things have been really crazy, but the one I remember the most was when you talk about, kind of taking care of ourselves and loving ourselves, and that's something I really started to take to heart. I got into a routine now where I'm actually motivated to wake up early. I just don't wake up early just to do it. I think it's something that happens while we're in Herbalife. We're just like, they wake up at 5:30. So I'm going to wake up, and then we end up watching TV for 3 hours, actually being zero productivity. And so I started doing that, and I realized, one of the things I don't do is I don't take care of my skin. I don't take care of my outer body. I finally take good care of the inside of my body. But, we talked at one time, and you were saying, I just I take my shower, then I sit there and I lotion myself, and I just, make sure my skin's all soft, and I do my skin line. And I just feel so good in the morning. It's such a great way to start my day. And I just have confidence. I just have the shine. I think I just have the glow, and just been really helping me really take that time to love myself. Because I try and spread our love out to others so much, and we always give. And I think I'll probably be guilty of the same thing with money. If I were to receive so much, all I want to do is give it back.
Exactly. Awesome. And so thank you so much for sharing that, Mario. And here's the thing. Everything's connected because you are one person. And the core 4 concepts, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, get together with somebody who did listen to the call and they can map it out for you. But one of the things it's about that you're not one element. You're not like your business and then you go home and you're another person. It's like you are all of it, right? I love Gabriel's concept of the balance of my life. And one of the things that I mentioned to Mario that I had to learn for myself, I have a life coach, And she would always tell me, in order for things to change, it all starts within. And I understand that. But then she started talking about like relationships, whether it's intimate relationships, your family relationships, or your business relationships. And here, get this. People will treat you the way you treat yourself. People will relate to you the way you relate to yourself. So if you want people to love you, it really starts with you loving yourself. If you want people to respect you, it really starts with you respecting yourself. And when she said this to me, it was a fear that they say you can't love somebody unless you love yourself, but to really understand what that means is fundamental. And to take it a step further is that people, so if you are the kind of person, or if you have somebody, in your organization that says, man, I always get the negative ones. Only the negative people come to me. Every time I do flyers or personal contact, everybody I come across with, they're all mean and grouchy and da-da-da-da-da. Now, you have to find a nice way of saying this, right? But I can tell you guys here, because you're on the phone for a leadership call, and that is, you've got to look in the mirror, because the world, the outside world, is only reflecting to you what is going on inside of you. So like I mentioned, I think a couple calls ago, and that is, if you're driving let's just say like a Mercedes, it's because that is what's inside of you, which you're okay with. If you don't have a Learjet, let's just say if you really wanted one, okay? If you don't want one, it's totally irrelevant. But let's say you really wanted a Learjet, but you don't have one. The only reason you don't have it is because something inside of you tells you that you can't have it, whether you don't deserve it or whatever. So the outside world is always giving you like a glimpse of what's inside of you. So if people that are coming to you are rude and mean, one or two, of course, right? But if every single person that you relate to is like that, you got to look in the mirror. So I shared this with Mario, and I said, so every night, I always did it. I don't know why. I always clean my feet before I go to sleep. But now it's like I put rose oil on me, before I go to bed. I lotion with beautiful smelling lotion, because I have really beautiful lotions that people have given me that smell fantastic, but I would always save them, right? And so now it's save them for a special day. Now I put perfume on every single day. Sometimes I put perfume on my bed, and you might be thinking, why are you putting perfume on your bed? Well, because I'm going to bed with the most important person in the world, and that is me. And to really start honoring yourself, honoring everything you do, and to really start to loving and respecting yourself, the world will only bring that back to you. So awesome, Mario. Thank you so much for sharing. I think all of us could use a little bit more of that. So, okay. Anybody else have anything to share? Oh, hold on. Okay, there we go. I opened the line. Anybody else want to share something about last week or anything that has come up for you since these calls?
Karla?
Yes?
Okay, soy Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Yeah, I got in the call today because I wanted to hear the whole call. But when you asked yesterday about how we feel about money, the first thing that came to my head was I'm scared of money. And now it's like I need to work on that because I'm conscious about it. And it's true. I mean, I thinking about it last night. I couldn't sleep. I'm like, I was thinking about everything, and it's true. I'm scared of money. It's just like when I have money, it just goes away because, like you say, we give it away or we spend it on nothing because I'm not a good saver. It may be on my background. It's like I don't know. It's how can you say that? How can I say that? It's like I feel like I scare the money away from me. Like every time my income is increasing, every time I'm having good clients, I start just getting scared of having the money coming to me. And when you say the car we don't have and all that, we had gotten a car. I was all positive about it, but the moment I almost tuve duda.
Have doubt?
Yeah, I have doubt about it, about the payments. They called me and they got the car away. And I start because like we didn't qualify because of the credit and all that. But I was like, I felt relief. I'm like, you know what? I told Mary, it's right. We cannot afford that payment. Instead of looking for the money, instead of having more clients, instead of getting the money coming to me on my way, I just started like, no, that's right. We cannot afford that. That's too much. It's too much interest, too much. The payment is too high. We need to pay the insurance, and I feel that I scared the money away from me. Like I feel like I don't deserve to have the money. And now that I'm conscious about it, I'm sorry.
No, tell me.
Yeah, and he made me be conscious about it last night. And I need to work on that, because every time I'm having more clients, or even like a month ago, you know, I was working on my personal trainer certificate. Someone came up to me and like, hey, you're a personal trainer. I want one. I want you to work with me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited. And I scared him. I just thinking about charging him just make me feel bad. I'm like, how much am I gonna charge? It's like a personal trainer can charge like $50 an hour. I'm like, that's too much. I'm like, 30. That's too much. I felt like $10 was too much. So I'm like, I'm being conscious about it. I feel that I'm taking advantage of others when I need to charge them money, when I need to it's just I need to change my mentality about money, because I work hard for my certificate. So I got I mean, it's okay if I charge $50 because I deserve them. But I didn't think about it. I'm like that. I'm like, that's too much. So I need to shift that thinking.
Yeah, sorry. It's all 9:30, and I want to respect everybody's time. Thank you so much, because I bet, Laura, there's so many people on this phone that can relate. So we're going to continue the notes from next week, because I'm going to talk to you about what he shared as far as how to start shifting that mentality. But the first step this week is being conscious of your conversation, how you feel. Good job, Laura, because she was on the call last night with the Spanish team. So we'll go ahead and continue this conversation next week. You guys, God bless you. You know, if you guys want to replay this call, it's the same number, just change the last 2 digits to 99 and the same code. All right? And it'll be available till next week. God bless you guys. We'll hear you next week. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing, and we'll hear you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Karla.
Bye, mi amor.
Bye.